Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Brittany. This is the Brittany React Show. And on this show we talk all things movies and entertainment. I want to thank you all for being flexible and joining me on a Tuesday. I know this isn't my normal time, but thank you guys for just being flexible with my schedule, paying attention to my Twitter and my community page so you guys know when I post. So I just want to thank you all for being here. Hi Grateful Harmony, hi Chuck Santo, hi Midas Mirror, hi Natanya, hi Evil Connor, hi Kassarin, hi DeBoy, hi Vincent, hi Astronomy, hi Sunset Draws, hi Cream Cheese, hi Will, Alexander, Paris, Jimin, all of you, Cheetah Viper, thank you so much for being here. You guys coming to this show each and every week is just really great. I love talking to you guys. Fair warning for today's show, we do actually have a lot to talk about. So not only are we going to go over the Oscar nominations, so yes, we're going to talk about what Wicked got. Yes, we're going to talk about the Emilia Perez scandal. We're going to talk about who's likely to win. But we also have a lot of entertainment news to go over. So we had a new Superman teaser that just dropped. The Superman teaser, there's a bit of controversy because, like, the way that David Cornswet's face looks when he flies, some people don't like it, so we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about the fact that there is this new report from a new data analytics company called Luminate that is basically saying, yeah, Disney Plus shows don't do well, no one's watching them, especially the really big Marvel and Star Wars shows, like, they're, like, barely competing with the rest of streaming shows. I mean, they're supposed to be, like, massive franchises, yet their shows are getting, like, a quarter of the viewership or less. So, yeah, we're going to talk about that as well. But how have you guys been? How is your January? I feel like this month has been extremely long. I feel like this has been, like, the forever month. But, you know what? I'm not in a rush. We can slow things down. It's fine. I'm not going to talk about any AI stuff, so if you've been paying attention to that whole debacle, we're not going to talk about it here because it's not entertainment related. So you're free from hearing about AI in this podcast. But anyway, let's get to the actual news because, oh, thank you, Cheetah Viper. Let's get to the actual news because, like I said, we have a lot to talk about. So this is likely going to be one of those streams that's kind of long. So make sure that you're comfortable. Got, you're not hungry. You've got a snack because this is probably going to be a long podcast. All right, so let's get to. Oh, we only have entertainment news as well. We don't have any box office news because there's just really nothing interesting happening at the box office, so I just decided today we would skip it. So we're just going to start with entertainment, and we're going to start with the Oscar nominations. So, just to give you a brief overview of how well the movies did individually. So Emilia Perez is winning with the most amount of nominations. We're going to talk about, is that deserved? Is that earned? I think that's questionable, so we're going to go over that. The Brutalist got 10. Wicked also got 10, so it's tied for second, which I like. A Complete Unknown got 8. Conclave got 8. Anora got 6. Dune Part 2 only got 5. The first one got 10. So that just shows you, like, the lack of interest for this one compared to the last one. And I guess you can sort of blame that on the fact that the movie came out earlier in the year, but so did Dune Part 1, and that one was more remembered, so I don't know. But anyway, The Substance got 5, and Nosferatu got 4. So those are the big winners, or at least the movies that got the most nominations. Did you guys see these films? I feel like a lot of these movies are very, very small and only, like, played in a few theaters. Like, The Brutalist never really truly went wide. I think Conclave and Nora, even The Substance, like, those were not big hits in theaters. I think people watch them at home, but, like, they're not, like, huge movies. But there's a few, like, movies people might have seen, like Dune and Wicked and A Complete Unknown. So what do you guys feel about this lineup here? In fact, why don't I go ahead and just show you who actually got nominated for Best Picture. So we have Anora, Wicked, Conclave, Emilia Perez, Dune Part 2, The Brutalist, Substance, A Complete Unknown, I'm Still Here, and Nickel Boys. This is actually the Best Picture nominations field. So, what do you think of this list? Do you feel like this was a strong year for movies? Do you feel like this is a really strong year for the Oscars? Or do you feel like there's a lot of movies here that are not very good? Personally, and I haven't seen all of them, I'm still catching up on them, and I will have seen at least most of them by the time the Oscars actually air. But I kind of feel like for how good of a year I felt like last year actually was for movies, a lot of the really big ones that I loved are missing. I feel like there's a lot of niche stuff here that just the Academy likes, just like Hollywood likes, and only like a few movies where like I feel like would actually be of interest beyond the crowd of the Academy. So I kind of feel like this year they nominated a lot of really small niche films. But what do you guys think? Blueberry Muffin says, "Men, not great, but not terrible." Jada Viper, "You've only heard of Wicked and Dune." Vincent says, "Those big studios don't market smaller original movies." Yeah, they don't. That's true. I wish like something like The Substance could have gotten a bigger marketing spend because I do feel like if they had actually cared about that movie, I think it could have been even bigger in theaters. Alexander, thank you so much for the super chat. I always appreciate the super chat, guys. Really appreciate them. So thank you, Alexander. Hey, Brittany, I'm Mexican American and I like Emilia Perez because it's camp, in my opinion, but I like it more because of Zoe Saldana's performance. There are some people who do like it. We're going to go over, I think, both sides to the argument. However, I will also give you my opinion as well. So we are going to get to that, but thank you again for the super chat. Oh, Ronnie, you think this is a mess? You think this list is a mess? Interesting, okay. Well, let's go on to the next part. So, Wicked, as I said, did get nominated for 10 Oscars. So we have Best Sound, Best Editing, Best Picture, Best Actress, Best Visual Effects, Best Original Score, Best Makeup and Hair, Best Costume Design, Best Production Design, and Best Supporting Actress. So it basically got all the big awards that it could have gotten, except for Jon Chu didn't get nominated for Best Director. And I feel like there was another one that was missing. Oh yeah, there was no like Best Original Song because all of those songs are actually from the Broadway musical, so it couldn't be nominated there either. I just really feel like Jon Chu should have gotten a nomination. I feel like what he pulled off with Wicked was deserving of that. But it does seem like Jon Chu is trying to capitalize on this Wicked success because it looks like he's already signed on to direct a Dr. Seuss adaptation for Oh, the Places Will Go. He'll be co-directing it with Jill Colton. And then it'll have songs. So that's interesting. I personally, I mean, obviously, having seen Wicked, I know that he can handle a big fantasy. So I'm not really worried about him being able to pull this off. However, if you guys remember, he's supposed to be directing the Britney Spears biopic. And I am way more excited about this than the Dr. Seuss adaptation. So I was wondering, I was like, why is he still looking for a new movie to direct when the Britney Spears biopic should be huge? I mean, how could he still be looking for a new movie when like he has something that I think a lot of directors would kill to work on? And then I remembered a little while ago, I think this was last week, Britney Spears had named a few people that she was curious about playing her in the movie. She was considering, get this, Selena Gomez and Natalie Portman. Selena Gomez and Natalie Portman. I have nothing against those ladies, but they are not good casting choices to play Britney Spears, especially young Britney Spears. Neither of those women look particularly young. You know what I mean? First of all. Second of all, neither of them exhibit the spirit of Britney at all. So, here's my tinfoil hat guess at what's going on here. So, I think as much as I love Britney, and I think you guys can probably tell that I'm a stan, I listen to her music all the time, but I can see her being an extremely difficult person to work with, just because she's clearly not all there. And I can see her having a whole lot of suggestions like, hey, let's have Selena Gomez play me. I can't even say that with a straight face. Um, I bet she had like a lot of demands and expectations and was like having all these bad suggestions that I can see that scaring Jon Chu away from the movie, and maybe that's why now he's signed on for this. Because I'm like, why else would you leave? That's like a huge movie. A Britney Spears biopic, come on. That's like, if you do it right, that could be $1 billion movie. Especially for Dr. Seuss, like, there had to be something repelling him. And I'm thinking, I love my girl, but like, as soon as I saw this, I was like, oh, I know she's difficult. I know she must be difficult. Because like I think we talked about this like 2 shows ago, but like she's actually actively involved in the movie. Like she's going to be a producer, so she has say on what happens in the film, which I think is a good thing because you need her approval. But also, I can see her being just hard to work with. So, what do you guys think about this? Are you excited for Jon Chu doing this? Or do you want him to do the Britney Spears biopic instead? Do you feel like he should have been nominated for the Oscar? Because he was left out. How do you guys feel about all of this? Oh, Alexander, thank you so much again for the super chat. Really appreciate it. You like Lily Reinhart for Britney Spears. I have to admit, I don't know like a lot about Lily Reinhart. I'd have to do more research, but I trust your judgment, Alexander. Maybe her. Natanya, you think Sabrina? I don't think Sabrina. Sabrina's her own pop star. I really don't like the idea of pop stars playing another pop star because then not only does that muddy the brand of like you as a pop star, but then like it's like you're trying to copy someone else in the same lane. I don't think any current pop star should play her. Um yeah, Rodney, but we're not going to talk about that in this stream. Brandon WTF says, will the Britney Spears biopic adapt the Justin Timberlake breakup? Well, they have to. How can they not? Um, Rodney says the director should be taken out of director instead. So you would put Jon Chu instead of the Emilia Perez director. I could get behind that. I could get behind that. Um, Cheetah Viper. You said you think Britney Spears might be a little loose upstairs from the stuff she posts on social media. Well, that's what I'm talking about. Could you imagine present day Britney Spears being like a partner on a big movie? I mean, I'd want to go work on a Dr. Seuss movie too instead, probably, you know? But that's just my guess. Anyway. Thankfully, I love her. I really do love Britney. But thankfully, both Ariana and Cynthia Erivo were nominated. I was a little worried. I wasn't worried that Ariana wasn't going to get nominated because she was like, I think if Zoe Saldana hadn't been like nominated in this category, I think Ariana would be a shoo-in to win. So I wasn't surprised, or I wasn't like fearful that she wouldn't get nominated. Like I expected that. But I was like worried that there would be like a surprise where like Ariana would get a nom but Cynthia wouldn't, because I could totally see that happening. So I'm just very, very happy that did not happen for both of them. I'm sure Ariana's happy that that didn't happen either, because then that would have overshadowed her nomination. Just like Margot Robbie not getting a nomination for Barbie kind of overshadowed Ryan Gosling getting one, because everyone was mad about it, or at least the fans of Barbie were. So I'm just happy they both got nominated. I think they both deserve to win, but will they win? I kind of doubt it. Although, as we're about to talk about with Emilia Perez, I don't know if it's just the internet that's really mad at it, because, like I said, I think the industry seems to be a lot more... They seem to love this movie a lot more than, like, the average person does. But from what I'm seeing, so many people are turning against Emilia Perez because it's getting all these nominations that I'm actually starting to wonder if maybe, like, it might underperform Oscar night. So who knows? Maybe Ariana's still in it. So who knows? But we'll see. I think out of the two, Ariana's definitely the more likely to get the win. Unfortunately, I just don't see it happening for Cynthia, even though I think she deserves it. But what do you guys feel about this? Editing Geek says Sis has several screws lists. You guys are funny. Timothy Chalamet is Justin Timberlake. I would not be against it. Actually, I don't think that's terrible casting. I actually don't think that's just, like, terrible. Like, I could get behind that. Okay, fake mustache. You think Wicked can win this year? Blueberries, hoping they win. I'm low-key kind of glad Selena Gomez didn't get nominated. Not that I'm, like, against Selena Gomez. Well, I do think she's annoying. But I'm glad that Emilia Perez didn't do even better than it already did. Because, well, maybe we should just move on to that now since I've talked about it. Because, Emilia Perez is now tied with the following films as the second most nominated film at the Oscars. That's Oppenheimer, Mary Poppins, the original, Forrest Gump, Gone with the Wind, The Shape of Water, and The Lord of the Rings. So this movie, Emilia Perez, is now in the same league, at least Oscar-wise, with these films. If Selena Gomez had been nominated, it would have tied for the first or the most amount of nominations. And it would have been up there with, like, the Avatars and the Titanics and those kind of movies. So, here's what's happening. So, like I said, I'm going to present all the sides of the argument here. So, obviously, the Academy loves this movie. Like, awards voters seem to love this movie because it's not just doing well with the Academy, but it also got a lot of nominations at the BAFTAs, and that's in the UK. The Golden Globes gave it a lot of wins and nominations. So, it's obviously hitting with that market, right? But how many people outside of that bubble are really gravitating towards this movie? And I asked that question because, like I said, not only has there been a lot of backlash to it online, but, and to be fair, this is just a comment I saw on X. I couldn't verify it. I did try to see if there was a source for this information, but I couldn't find it. So make sure you take this with a grain of salt. But apparently, it's people in Mexico do not like this movie so much that the government had to step in and get in talks with their country's most popular cinema chain to handle the sheer amount of people asking for a refund after watching it. So there are some Mexicans, and I see I already have one in the chat who said that you really liked it. However, there are a lot of Mexicans that are like, how is this movie directed by a French director who admitted that he didn't do any sort of research on the culture? And apparently to some Mexicans, they don't feel like the culture was portrayed very well in the movie. How... They're just upset that this movie is getting the kind of recognition that it is when they feel like it's offensive to them, or that the movie's just not very good. So that's one argument. The other argument here is, and I had to pull this video because I feel like this movie is also, I can't talk about Emilia Perez without talking about the obvious elephant in the room, which is that I think this movie is largely just for left-leaning audiences, because this clip alone is probably going to repel, like, most even slightly conservative people. And I'm just going to play, like, a very short clip from it. Some of you might have seen this.
Nice to meet you. I'd like to know about sex change operations.
They're singing about sex change operations because one of the lead characters in this movie is trans. And it's a musical.
From penis to vagina.
So there's all these clips from the movie that are going viral. Right-leaning news sources are picking up on it and making fun of the movie. So obviously this is not a movie for a lot of conservatives, which leaves this being a movie for the liberal crowd. But then a lot of liberal Mexicans don't like this movie because they don't feel like it represents their culture very well. So it kind of When I said earlier in the podcast that like I feel like a lot of movies that got nominated this year were like very niche and like movies that only people in the room like, this was one of the films that I was kind of talking about. It's been a very controversial film. People have been trying to bring up stuff from Zoltana's past to try to seem like she doesn't deserve the award, which I think is unfair because I actually really like Zoe Saldana. This is actually her first, This is actually her first Oscar nomination, so I think she's been working in the industry for a long time. I think she deserves this. Do I want Ariana to win instead? Yes. But I think the whole situation is complicated. And I think if Emilia Perez wins the top award, I think it will make the narrative that a large part of Hollywood is out of touch with the larger majority. I think that it will strengthen that narrative, and I think it could potentially create more backlash for the industry, if they even care, because they don't seem to care. But I think there's a whole argument about how like celebrity culture is on the decline, and the industry in general, you could argue, is on decline. And I don't think they need to rock the boat more by like awarding films that are so contentious with the general public and a lot of people even find offensive. And I have more thoughts on this, but I do want to get to your thoughts because I know at least one of you said you liked this movie. But what else how do you guys feel about this? Alexander says you laugh at this song because it's cringe. Yes, it's very cringe. Ronnie says, if Zoe wins, okay, but the internet is coming for it. Oh, yeah. If Zoe Saldana wins, the internet will not be kind to her. I hope she's prepared for that. Evil Connor, what? Oh, yes, that's true. Rodney just pointed out that Zoe did lose the Satellite Award. And Ariana won that. So that's why I still think Ariana is a dark horse in this race. I still think she could win Best Supporting Actress, especially if such the hate from the world and also online for this movie might maybe possibly influence how Oscar voters treat it, but I doubt it. Paris says, I just feel like it's bad representation overall for so many different communities. Yeah, I agree. I think it's a bad look for everyone. Vincent says, 2024 is the year where Hollywood celebrities are done. It might have been. We'll see how it goes in 2025, but like I said, I think Emilia Perez taking home a bunch of major awards would not help the industry's reputation. That's my personal opinion. And here's another thing that I'm upset about. I just have to bring it up. So Zoe Saldana is half black, right? Or at least half black. Like, I know she's mixed, but she has played roles before as a black woman. And many consider her to be a lead in Emilia Perez. And the Carla Sofia Garçon, who's the trans actress, they consider her to be supporting. But they switched it and put Carla in lead and Zoe in supporting because I think to like make it something positive for like the trans community. However, as a black woman, I have to say that pisses me off because there's only been one black woman to win the leading Best Actress award. And that was Halle Berry like 20 years ago. Just one. Zoe Saldana still could very well win this award. Like she has the momentum to do so. I still think Ariana could do it, but like it's very possible Zoe will win instead. And if she does win, and it's for supporting when it could have been for lead, I don't know how it's fair that black women get to lose out on another win in a major lead category to make some statement about trans people? Like, why do we have to lose out for that? I don't agree with that. So I would be really annoyed if Carla wins or Zoe wins for that reason, just because they switched the categories to be progressive when really that just like kind of like dismisses the achievements for Black women. And I don't agree with that. I have a strong problem with that. So that's another reason why I'm rooting for Emilia Perez to lose. Personally. I know that's like, I don't normally talk about like my political opinions or whatever in depth, but like I feel very strongly about it, so that's why I had to say it. But what are your thoughts about this, if you have any at all? Shelly Lee, thank you so much for the super chat. I don't know, I keep looking up there. The camera's right there. Thank you so much for the super chat. Really, really appreciate it. I always love your support. Hollywood wants to stick it to the evil orange man. Conclave did a much better job of trans representation. Ironic, huh? I mean, even other trans people are saying Emilia Perez is bad representation. And they put her in lead for virtue signaling points, basically. But you're robbing the second only Black woman for potentially winning Best Lead Actress. So what progress are we actually making? That's why this whole thing pisses me off. But thank you again for your super chat. As you can tell, I feel very strongly about this. Yes, I think Demi Moore is definitely going to win Best Actress. But I think if Zoe was in that category, I think it would have been a lot more competitive. I think she still could have won. Rodney says if Selena got and Emilia would have broke the record with 14. Yeah, that's what I said earlier. That's why I'm glad she did not get nominated. Blueberry, I'm glad you agree with me. I appreciate the support. Anyway, I don't usually root for movies to lose, but this time I'm kind of rooting for Emilia to lose. At least for Best Supporting and Lead Actress. But yeah, that's where I'm at with that. Anyway, moving on to the next topic. So, Best Animated Film. So here are the ones that got the nominations. Flow, Inside Out 2, The Wild Robot, Memoir of a Snail, Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance, Most Foul. I feel like this is a very strong lineup of animated films, like extremely strong. I feel like this has been one of the strongest years for animation in a long time. Usually with this category, there's like two strong ones, maybe three, and then like two that are basically there just to fill up space. I don't think that's the case this year. I think each one of these really deserve to be here. Who do I think will win? I have my money on The Wild Robot, just because it also got the most nominations for any animated film in years. It got 3. So I really feel like the Academy is going to want to reward The Wild Robot, even though I do feel like Flow could be a dark horse, but I have a feeling not enough people in the Academy will have seen that. So I think more people will have seen The Wild Robot, and that's why I think that one's going to win. But I think this is a strong category overall. Challengers. Let's talk about some snubs. Challengers was not nominated for anything, even Best Score, which a lot of people thought was a lock. I was surprised by that. I think Zendaya originally intended for this to be some sort of like Oscar play for her, but then just didn't turn out to be that way. I think the film is viewed as like being too commercial to be Oscar quality, so I think that's why it's kind of being left out. Also, Denis Villeneuve has not been nominated for Best Director at the Oscars for neither Dune films, which I find incredible. He did such a good job on these movies. For him to not be recognized for his work, I think that's crazy. They nominated the director of Emilia Perez, but they did not nominate Denis Villeneuve. That's crazy to me. That's really insane. I can't wrap my head around that one. But yeah, that's it for the Oscars in general. There's a lot more, obviously. I'm not going to go over every category, but those were just like the major takeaways that I wanted to go over with you guys. But what are your thoughts on this year's Oscar nominations? Do you feel like the Oscars got them right? Were there any snubs that you're upset about, or people like you don't understand why they got nominated? That's true, Arvin. He does have a third Dune movie. Maybe for the third one they'll finally recognize him. I'm hoping that, but I honestly don't know. Prototype says, you know what, Villeneuve is too good for Hollywood. He is. He really is. I've become quite a Denis fan, actually. Yeah, Nick says this is the biggest snub ever. It might be up there. It might be up there. Alexander thinks Challengers came out too early. I think that's part of it, but I think even if it came out later, it probably still wouldn't have gotten a lot of nominations. But anyway, let's move on from the Oscars. So, Anthony Mackie got himself into some hot water today when he was in Rome doing an interview for promoting his Captain America movie. So I'm going to read his exact quote or we know what he says, and then we'll talk about my thoughts on it and then how you guys feel about it. So, Anthony Mackie explains what Captain America represents for him. He said, Captain America represents a lot of different things, and I don't think the term America should be one of those representations. It's about a man who keeps his word, who has honor, dignity, and integrity. So this is the quote that had, literally this was trending. This had Anthony Mackie trending at like #1 on Twitter. Caused a lot of people to like get angry about it, but it also caused a lot of people to like want to jump up and defend him. So people are very mixed on this statement. Now, let me explain why I think people are mad, and then let me talk about like how I feel about it. So I think the people who are upset at this are upset because, well, I do think that like this is a weird thing to say in promotion for your movie if you're gonna be in a movie called Captain America. I think it is weird to like say in a press interview that like you don't think your character represents America. I just don't feel like from an optics PR point of view that makes much sense. But like that's not really what people are like truly upset about. I think what people are truly upset about is that he's basically insinuating that like America doesn't reflect those values, that it doesn't reflect honor, dignity, and integrity, and that they think he's like dismissing America and he doesn't respect America. And obviously playing a character called Captain America, you should, I think, at least not publicly say that you have problems with America, which he's kind of clearly insinuating here. Again, that's why I just think that optically this was probably not the smartest thing to say, but like part of me gets what he's saying in the sense that I think he should have worded it differently. I think if he had said Captain America represents many things and it's not just about America the country, and it's about all these other things, I think that would have been a much better statement and I would have no problem with it. But I think him just coming out and saying like Captain America doesn't represent America, I think that's like such red meat bait for so many people, so many news organizations, that it's just not like a publicity savvy thing to say when you're promoting a film, particularly right now in America with this political climate. Now there are people who are agreeing with him, saying, yeah, America is not the best right now, so he should represent more than that. And, you know, Captain America's always been fighting against the American government and all that. And I think there is some truth to that. I think that Captain America is supposed to represent the American ideal more so than the actual truth of America. And again, if Anthony Mackie had said that, again, I think that would have made so much sense and I would have been behind that. But I think it's just such a harsh statement to be like Captain America does not represent America anymore. Or at all. It's just, I think he should amend that slightly. Sorry if you hear my dog. You guys know Prancer. He has a mind of his own. Prancer! Shh! Anyway, I just feel like if he had just said like that America is one of the things that this character represents, I would have been okay. For him to say it doesn't represent the character at all, I feel like is the problem. But what do you guys think? I want to hear your thoughts. Do you feel like this is controversial? Why or why not? Eva Connor says, I always love when audiences freak out over actors say about their roles, like he's an actor. Yeah, I mean, I know they're just actors, but they do represent the movies that they're in, though. Prancer wants to weigh in. I guess he has thoughts as well, yeah. Left on Foria says, Superman doesn't work for America, but he represents the best of American values. But Captain America worked for the military. I mean, he's literally a military experiment. Or at least the Steve Rogers version was. I don't know, I guess we'll see. Anthony Mackie's version will be a little different then, because he doesn't have to necessarily work for the government, or he doesn't really come from the government, although he was a soldier. So I don't know, I'm just curious to see how they address that. Prototype, exactly. Captain America represents the ideal America, not the one we actually have. I just wish that that's what he said. Because, I mean, America is in his name. Captain America does represent America to a degree. So I do think that he's wrong in saying that the character doesn't represent America at all. I don't think that's true. But the character does represent an idealized America. I think he just did not word his statement well. That's what I think. Unless I could just be, giving him a lot of benefit of the doubt, and he means exactly what he says. In that sense, that I disagree with him. But I'm assuming he meant more than that, and like his words are just getting taken out of context. I'm giving him some grace here. Blueberry Muffin says, people are going too far. Should he say that? Not really, but it's not a huge deal. I think it kind of is a big deal. Again, in today's political climate, when you're promoting a movie called Captain America, and you're already a major change from the previous Captain America, that's just not like a smart thing to say in an interview. I'm so sorry you're hearing my dog. Prancer! Prancer! I don't know what he's doing. I'm sorry, y'all. You're hearing a lot of my dog today. He has a lot on his mind that he wants to speak, I guess. Anyway. Fake Mustache says this movie could flop even more just because he said this. Yeah, he's not helping his movie. This movie already has an uphill battle to profitability. I don't think this is helping. Ashley says he doesn't represent America as a country. He represents the spirit of America, or the idea. That's why he was against Tony in Civil War. Exactly. That's why I don't think on the surface Anthony is correct when he says Captain America doesn't represent America, because it does. It's just a different, more idealized kind of America. And I feel like if he doesn't understand that, then he doesn't understand the character. But I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt just to say, like, maybe he didn't word his statement well. Prancer is voicing his opinion. Yeah, he's a Captain America fan. I guess so. Well, he's by the door. I can't bring him over here. If he comes next to me, then I'll let you guys see him. But anyway, let's move on. So, also, Agatha will not be getting a second season. Why? Not because the people in power don't want one. It's because Jack Schaefer, the lead writer on this series, isn't interested in making a second season. So he also turned down Marvel's offer of making WandaVision Season 2. So it sounds like the reason we're not getting more Wanda or more witchy corner of the MCU is because Jack Schaefer just doesn't like writing second seasons. Apparently that's her excuse, is that it's too much to write. That's literally what she said. And I'm so confused, because I thought that the role of an executive, right, was to, like, make your talent do what they're supposed to do so that you can, like, make money. If you have two shows that have at least very passionate fan bases and you're interested in a second season, how do you not have it in the contract? First of all, to be like, yeah, if the show is successful enough for a second season, you have to come back for a second season. How is that not in the contract? Firstly. Second of all, why are you listening? If you really feel like you need a second season because you think it'll be successful, make them do it. I understand maybe this is like a very anti-creative opinion, but I feel like at a certain point, you gotta like stand up to the talent and be like, just do your job. Because how does she have so much say that she can just be like, I don't want to do a second season? You know, it's like, it's not your brand, it's not your property, it's not your characters. I don't know. I feel like this is a bit selfish. How do you guys think about this? Do you think I'm wrong on this? What is your take? Ronnie says, what do you mean you can't do a second season? Exactly. It honestly sounds like laziness. Like, she literally was just like, oh, it's too much writing. Isn't that your job? Right. Arvin says, I think she's running away from superhero fatigue. But she said no to WandaVision Season 2, and superhero fatigue hadn't really hit in yet when WandaVision was airing. Oh, Ashley says, unpopular opinion, Rachel Hahn isn't a good actress. I feel like there were certain episodes where, I think you mean Catherine Hahn, but there were certain episodes where I did feel like she was slightly overacting, I'm not gonna lie. But I think overall she's a really good comedic actor. Cheetah Viper says her job's a writer. Make her write or give her the reins to someone who wants to. Exactly. That's why I'm like, what do you mean you just said no? Like, how are you not being forced to? I feel like Hollywood is getting too soft. Like, make these people do it. Like, why are you giving them so much say? It's like, it's not their property. You know what I mean? Or at least give the reins over to someone else so they can do it. I feel like this is weird. I don't know. But speaking of Marvel, and Star Wars, and just like Disney in general, I wanted to talk about, where did it go? Okay, yes. So there's a new data analytics company. Hold on, how does this look? Because I know you guys can't really see it. So I'm gonna like temporarily move this so you guys can see it. So there's a new data analytics company that's trying to compete with the likes of Nielsen, which I'm so freaking thankful for because I'm actually annoyed with Nielsen. Nielsen, do you guys know Nielsen? Maybe if you're not in the US, you maybe haven't heard of them, but Nielsen is like a well-known data analytics company where they're the ones that give you the ratings and the viewership for shows and stuff. Like, if you hear about official ratings, it usually comes from Nielsen. And they've kind of been like the biggest player in this space for years and kind of the only biggest player in this space. So they've been getting lazy. They've been like delaying their results and their analysis and delaying ratings results and just like skipping things when they want to. And I find that we need a competitor in this space to make Nielsen a whole lot less lazy as a company. So I'm happy that it seems like they finally have a new competitor because the trades are starting to actually report data from Luminate. And I'm really happy with that. So we have a new player to talk about here. So let's talk about what Luminate is saying about Disney Plus shows because it's not good. And I'm sorry if you hear a bunch of stuff in the background. I know this is a very noisy stream today. But anyway, so in this first graph that we're going to show, this compares minutes watched for Marvel series and The Lord of the Rings for the first 12 weeks of activity. So this graph just shows you how poor some of this Marvel content is doing. Even something like Loki Season 2, which was kind of praised and hailed as like a hit, at least for Disney Plus, still pales in comparison to like what the Rings of Power Season 1 did. And if you guys remember Rings of Power Season 1, that was seen as a flop because it didn't do as well as the House of the Dragon, which aired at the same time. And the House of the Dragon got way bigger views than the Rings of Power. So this graph makes it seem like the Rings of Power Season 1 had like huge viewership, but like it wasn't even one of the biggest of the year or even in the top 10. So just have that in perspective. So you're like, oh wow, Rings of Power must have done really well. No, even that's still not that high. So that just shows you how low shows like Agatha and Echoes and even Loki season 2, like how low their viewership is. I mean, this is pretty bad. They're spending like hundreds of millions of dollars on these shows. Like Loki season 2 wasn't cheap. These shows aren't cheap. Secret Invasion? Secret Invasion was apparently really expensive, even though it looked really cheap, and did horribly. Like, the reviews for that were toxic, and I think rightfully so. I tried to watch that show, and I couldn't even finish it. So, I feel like Disney Plus strategy needs to change, because these shows are bringing in diminished results. Each Star Wars show, as we're about to see, hold on, let me actually scroll down. So, each Star Wars show is getting less and less viewership. As you can see here, hold on, actually, can you see? Oh, no, let me move it. I'm gonna have to do a lot of moving around. So, the Star Wars series viewership, let's just compare the first 5 weeks of Ahsoka with The Acolyte with Star Wars: A Skeleton Crew. Firstly, Ahsoka, not even doing like super high numbers, but still managed to have like a steep decline. But at least it kind of rebounded and went up again, which is probably why we're getting a season 2. But look at The Acolyte and Star Wars Skeleton Crew. Look at how low their viewership is. And how, like, especially with The Acolyte, how, like, after week 2, which is after episode 2, there's, like, a dramatic drop, and then it keeps dropping. I mean, no wonder, when you look at the numbers like this, obviously they were going to cancel it. I don't even think it was about all the toxic hate the show got. The show just wasn't bringing in the kind of viewership that warrants the price tag. Because if you remember, The Acolyte was also, like, ridiculously expensive, like hundreds of millions of dollars. And they're just not getting the kind of viewership to warrant that kind of spending. And the shows aren't even, like, turning out that good, because The Acolyte was kind of terrible. Can we all agree The Acolyte was not good? After the first 2 episodes, I was thinking maybe this could be something. I was giving it the benefit of the doubt. I didn't think the first 2 episodes were terrible. But from episode 3 on, it was awful. Just, like, truly terrible writing. And I think how bad that show was is hurting Skeleton Crew, which I hear is actually pretty good, but no one's watching it. This is the one that I really wanted to, like, hone in on here. So this graph here. So this is the top 10 Disney Plus TV shows of 2024. And this just shows you how low the viewership is on this streaming service. So the number 1, like, streaming show of last year was Percy Jackson and the Olympians. The Percy Jackson show did better than all the Marvel and Star Wars shows last year. I mean, no wonder that show's getting a season 2. But I'd like to point out that as well as Percy Jackson and the Olympians did, it's still, that the viewership for that show still pales in comparison to, like, what the bigger hits on other streaming services like Netflix get. Like, if this show got this kind of viewership on Netflix, it wouldn't even be considered, like, a top contender. But on Disney Plus, it's a huge hit, which just shows you how, like, low the viewership is. The Acolyte, low. Agatha, we just saw Echo, low. X-Men 97, actually kind of impressive that it's managed to be this high on the chart, but still, viewership, very low. I mean, Star Wars Skeleton Crew is doing worse than, like, 2 animated films. Incredible. Just incredible. I mean, the stuff that's getting watched, I mean, there's so, like, little viewership on Disney Plus that still 2 old seasons of The Mandalorian, one from 2019, are still in the top 10. And these are just people rewatching old episodes. So that means all the new stuff that they make that's not Marvel or Star Wars is just not connecting at all. Because it can't even make the top 10. It can't even beat rewatches of season 1 of The Mandalorian that came out like 6 years ago or 5 years ago. So the reason why I'm bringing up all of this is just because I find this perplexing that Disney is spending so much money. For some of these shows, they're spending as much money on a single season as they would for like a full blockbuster film that goes straight to IMAX. And they're not getting like the same, they're not even getting like the viewership that like a really successful YouTube channel would get on just like posting random videos. I've seen Minecraft YouTubers get millions and millions of views just playing Minecraft. I think those videos are more successful than some of these like really expensive Marvel and Star Wars shows. That just shows you how damaged the brand is. That just shows you, I'm sorry again if you're hearing a lot going on in the background. It just shows you how damaged the brand is and how mighty the kings have fallen. I mean, again, I think I've told you guys this, but I'll never forget how in 2015, before The Force Awakens came out, how like the hype for Star Wars was palpable. I mean, Star Wars as a brand was like seen as impenetrable. And now people can't seem to care. People don't care anymore. Or at worst, they think the brand is dead, or like they can't make good stuff anymore. So I think this should be a wake-up call for Disney. This graph here should be a wake-up call that A, their Disney Plus streaming strategy is not working, and B, both of their major franchises, Marvel and Star Wars, are on life support, and they need to do something about it. Because this is a very bad-looking chart, in my opinion. Not even just in my opinion. I think objectively this looks pretty bad. So what would you guys think that Disney Plus needs to do to change? Like, what kind of shows should they be trying to make instead? What do you think they should do with their Marvel and Star Wars shows? How would you fix this? Potato Girl says there's only one show on that list that isn't Star Wars and Marvel. Exactly. And it's the Percy Jackson show that's actually doing well. Evil Connor wants dramas, adventures, and thrillers. So if they made original programming, you would actually watch it? I feel like something that's also holding Disney Plus back is the fact that it needs to be family-friendly. And you can have family-friendly hits, like Stranger Things is a family-friendly hit. But I feel like they're a bit harder to do right because you can veer to kid-friendly, and then it just seems like a kid show. And I feel like they've tried to do family-friendly shows already that just come across more kiddie. And I feel like Skeleton Crew is one of those examples. So I don't know. I feel like Disney has lost the art of making a really good family show that can appeal to all ages. They used to be able to do it. I would love musicals as well. Janisha says, it is literally insane and so unnecessary for Disney to give $100+ million for these projects and the films don't even look good. You truly don't need a big budget. I swear you don't, Disney. I would actually love for Disney to start working with smaller budgets again just so that they can be more creative. Because I feel like they lean too much into having a ton of money that they don't they're not as careful about quality. Oh, Disney doing horror? I mean, they tried doing horror with their Haunted Mansion remake, and I thought that was terrible. I thought that was really bad. So, yeah, horror would be cool, but I don't think they can do horror. Not like that Haunted Mansion movie. Anyway, let's move on. I just had to bring that up because I think these numbers do not paint a good picture for Disney. So we have a new trailer for Ryan Coogler's vampire thriller. Have you guys heard about this this movie? It stars Michael B. Jordan. This is Ryan Coogler's latest movie after having done the last Black Panther film. And having watched the trailer, it looks a lot like the black version of True Blood. Like, it takes place in the country south. In the small town. It's got vampires running around. The only difference it looks like to me is that it's got black people in it. But I love True Blood. I love True Blood. True Blood's like one of my all-time favorite shows. Even when it got bad, I was still into it. Um, but like, I don't know. I feel like this could be interesting. This is an original film, which I like. I like Ryan Coogler a lot. I love vampires. So I'm interested in this movie. I'm hoping that maybe this could do well. We need more original films doing well, and this looks like an actual serious like movie. I love the way it looks. How many movies have we talked about where like the movie just visually looks terrible? I mean, even as much as I love Wicked, I still think visually it doesn't look as great as it could look. So like this movie actually looks like a proper movie. So I don't know. I'm actually looking forward to this. I'm interested in this. Are you guys interested in watching Sinners? Anyone curious in this about this movie? Yes, Haley Steinfeld is in that. That is who you saw in the trailer. Yes, Eva Connor, I would say True Blood through season 4 was incredible. Just like Dexter through season 4 was incredible. They both fall off after that, but I still enjoy them. Yeah, the fairy storyline. I mean, for me, it wasn't even the fairy storyline that did it. It was like when they tried to start making vampires into like zombies, because that was like after The Walking Dead had broken through, so they were trying to like copy The Walking Dead. That was like towards the very end. Again, you will only understand that if you've watched True Blood, but like that was like the one plot point where I was really like, oh my god, what are we doing here? But other than that, I still loved it even when it was bad. Prototype says it depends on the lore of the vampires. Potato Girl says you'll see it. Bloomberry Muffin says it looks good. Potato Girl, yeah. I'm sorry I had to remind you of that. But anyway, I'm looking forward to it, so we'll see how well it does, especially since it's an original film. I'm cheering for this to do well. All right. So we also got a new teaser for Superman. Now, this teaser mostly just has a lot of the same shots that we saw in the longer trailer that we broke down. I spent a long time like breaking down that trailer. So if you want to see my thoughts on that, make sure you go check out one of my previous live streams. It is on the thumbnail, so you know which one it is. So like it opens the same way. Pretty much the only thing that's different is that we get to see a bit more of Nicholas Hoult in these nice sunglasses, or these snow goggles. Whatever this kaiju is. See this shot again, I don't like, but I do like this shot here. Basically what's new is this very ending shot where he's flying through the snow and he looks like Henry Cavill when they tried to erase his mustache in Batman v Superman. Do you guys remember that? When like Henry Cavill was also filming Mission Impossible where he needed a mustache, but like they needed him to film more scenes, so they just used CGI to like edit out his mustache and he looked really weird. This is what he looks like to me. That's exactly what he looks like to me here. And a lot of people have been complaining about it. People have been saying it doesn't look good. People have been saying they need to change it. So much so that James Gunn even came out and was like, hey, this isn't CGI. All of it's real. I don't know why y'all complaining. However, it doesn't really matter what you did to it. It just looks weird. Now, it's just a quick little like 2-second clip. It's not going to like ruin the movie for me. But I think when you're trying to promote a film, details like this matter. So I wouldn't have put out this shot just because it's not David Cornswet's most flattering look. But I'm still looking forward to the movie overall. But yeah, I will say he does look quite weird. What do you guys think about this look? Do you think he looks weird while he's flying? How do you feel about it? Potato Girl says, oh yeah, hiring the cinematographer from The Flash was a mistake. Oh, girl. When I heard that, there are times, because I've been following the entertainment industry for a long time, because obviously I'm very interested in this stuff. But there are times when I hear executives do certain things, and I'm like, are you stupid? Or do you just like not care what people say about your movies? Because why on earth would you use the same cinematographer for The Flash on your film? How? How? Like, how? I get that James Gunn apparently liked The Flash, but I don't understand. I know he's a good director because he's made movies that I've really loved. But I don't understand how he looked at The Flash, looked at the cinematography most importantly, and went, this is so good, I want this for Superman. When I would argue that the cinematography and the way The Flash looked was its worst element. It makes me question his creative decisions as an executive. Because why would you do that? Why would you do that? I mean, that was like one of the main complaints for The Flash was how it looked. And then you went and got the same cinematographer? Even though you know the entire like future of the DC universe is on this movie's shoulders? Like, again, it's like, are you dumb or you just do not care what feedback you get from audiences? Because it's got to be one of those two. Astronomy says, this is a really bad decision. Fake Mustache says, it looks like AI. Potato Girl says, looks so ugly. And I don't think David is ugly. I just think that's just a very unflattering look at him. I am upset because, like, The Flash looked terrible. You guys saw how it looked. Just the weirdest looking, most uncanny looking movie. I mean, just strange. That's like, I don't know, getting, like, Tommy Wiseau to direct your next big movie because you like The Room. Like, I don't understand. Like, what did he see? But anyway, moving on. So, Robert Eggers, he's riding high off of Nosferatu, which is doing really well. So he's like getting gigs left and right. I feel like he's been attached to a number of different movies. There was something else about a werewolf film, but now we're also seeing that he's set to direct a sequel to Labyrinth. So that's coming out. I have to say, I still haven't seen Nosferatu. I'm going to see it soon. But I did see The Witch, which was like his breakthrough movie. And I did not care for The Witch. So I'm not on board the Robert Eggers train yet. I've only seen one of his films and I didn't like it. However, from what I've seen of Nosferatu, I feel like I'd probably like that more. But I also do think that Labyrinth is in his vein. So I can see him doing this kind of movie well. Are you familiar with this director? Has he made it to like household status so that you guys even know who he is? Would you be excited for him to direct this film? What are your thoughts here? Oh, I'm seeing a lot of excitement. That's good. Okay, you guys are happy about this. Ashley Banks says, we've been promised a werewolf film for a while now. Yeah. Do people really care about werewolves? I feel like next to vampires, they're so lame. Donna Todd says, Brittany, you need to see those two movies. That is great if you want to see something that has good cinematography. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to see Nosferatu. I promise I will, and I will tell you when. But I did not care for The Witch, which is why I haven't been, like, super in a rush to go see his movies. Because I not just didn't like it, but I, like, actively didn't like it. Like, I had a lot of problems with some of the elements in that film. So that's why I've just been, like, not on the Robert Eggers train, but I could have my mind changed. Yeah, I haven't seen The Northman too. I've been kind of avoiding his movies low-key. But anyway, let's move on. It seems like most of you guys are excited about this, which is really cool. Also, Leonardo DiCaprio and Martin Scorsese are teaming up yet again for a new movie called Devil in the White City. The story follows a serial killer who murdered dozens of people while the city of Chicago was busy with hosting the World's Columbian Exposition of 1893. So if Leonardo DiCaprio plays the serial killer, I'm all here for this. Not only do they typically like do well together and I like them together, but I also just really like I feel like Leonardo DiCaprio is one of the last remaining movie stars, so I feel like he could actually make this a hit. Plus, it's a serial killer story, and I have a soft spot for those. I feel like this could be good, and I feel like Leonardo DiCaprio. I feel like as he's aged, not gonna lie, he fits more and more of that serial killer profile. Like he just fits that role. Like I could see him playing that. You know what I mean? And I like Leonardo DiCaprio, but like I could see him playing a serial killer, right? So I feel like this is a good fit for him. I feel like he's one of the last remaining movie stars, so this could be really huge. I'm looking forward to this. Do you guys still like Leonardo DiCaprio? Do you still think he's a big movie star? Would you still see a movie just because he's in it? How are you feeling about this film? Okay, Potato Girl says this sounds interesting. Ashley says, this is something I want to see and I never even heard of this. Okay, that's good. Is it because of Leo? Prototype says that's not a compliment. I mean, it's not a compliment, but also, I'm saying he could play the role well. It doesn't seem like this is getting the same kind of excitement the sequel to Labyrinth got, though. I kind of wonder if maybe Leo had his time. I'm starting to wonder if maybe his star has diminished a bit. Although King's Portal still thinks he's a huge star, so we'll see. Evil Connor, you agree with me, The Witch was awful. I didn't like it. But anyway, I'm curious to see how this goes. And I agree with Danny that Timmy C is our current Leo. I hope he doesn't go the weird, creepy route that Leo went, but that's a whole different subject. Anyway, this is a smaller story, but I'm bringing it up because I really like Brat. I like Charli XCX. So, Charli XCX will actually star in a movie called The Moment. It's based on her own original idea for A24. So she's come up with an original idea and has been able to successfully sell it and pitch it to A24. And now she's going to have a whole new movie that she's starring in, that she's producing under her new production company. I think, first of all, I just want to say hats off to her for like making a moment stretch as long as it possibly can. She is taking the Brat bag and she is running with it. I do not blame her one bit. Also, I think it's also really impressive that she decided to take this momentum and like go to A24 with a movie pitch and they just accepted it. Like, how cool is that? Also, I think that to get more interesting original movies, I want to see more of this kind of stuff happening. How cool would it be if like more just like celebrities who don't usually make movies, maybe who make music or other things, got the chance to like kind of make something like just like a creative like project for them. I feel like we'd be getting a lot more interesting original movies if this happened. Like imagine if like, I don't know, Bruno Mars tried to do something, or Ariana Grande got to make her own movie where she did her own thing. And she got to just make an original film with her as the star. Like, how cool would that be? I feel like we need to see more of this. Is anyone interested in this at all? This might be a niche topic, but I want to talk about it. Fake Mustache says you don't get the hype, but Alexander gets me. You like Brat. Dylan says Brat's overrated. Okay. Yes, Alexander, Charlie's going to be in a Jenna Ortega movie as well. She signed up for a bunch of films. Like I said, she knows how to capitalize on a moment for real. Evil Connor's not happy. But anyway, we can move on from this. I just thought this was cool, so I brought it up. So Christopher Nolan, speaking of Nolan, the Odyssey will be partly filmed in Sicily, which, according to scholars, was a location Homer envisioned for Odysseus' journey in the epic. They will shoot on vagina? What? They will shoot on I'm going to call it vagina, known as Go Island, where Odysseus would have landed with his crew to barbecue goats and stock up on food. So, obviously, a lot of people, when he announced that this was going to be his next movie, a lot of people were like, "Oh, but he only really usually does like real movies. Like, how is this going to work? When he doesn't like using CGI, he only likes to do things practical." But it seems like he's still committing to that side of him because, of course, he had to go to the actual authentic location where the Odyssey would have taken place. Because, of course, that's something Christopher Nolan would do. But also, this is what is getting me excited about this movie. I can't wait to see, like, an old classic, like, sword and sandals kind of epic that's truly, like, amazing. I think this could be a huge hit, and I'm glad that he's taking it this seriously and still like bringing some of that like Nolan authenticity to it. I think this is really cool and exciting. But also, speaking of Odysseus or the Odyssey, Jon Bernthal has been cast in the movie, and I love Jon Bernthal. I think he's so underrated. I think he's like one of the most underrated actors working today. So I'm so happy for him that he's in this movie. Plus, I also think he adds like a vibe that's kind of missing from the current cast, so I'm glad that he's part of it now. But yeah, are you guys excited for the Odyssey still? Does it move you at all that he's like being very authentic about the shooting locations? What about the fact that Jon Bernthal has been cast? What are your thoughts about this film? Du Bois says, nah, it's not called Goat Island for the goats. It's because Chris Nolan is the goat. You're funny, Du Bois. Prototype says it's pronounced Favinana. I think the G is Sino. Favinana. Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. Potato Girl says, more excited now that you know Jon is going to be in it. Okay, me too. I was already excited, but now I'm even more excited. Fake Mustache says, you predict a huge hit, could hit 1 billion. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. As a Greek pagan, you're excited for this. Well, this is like the movie for you. I'm excited for you. But anyway, still looking forward to this movie. I have one more story and then we're done for today. We actually didn't even take as much time as I thought we would. But Lady Gaga did respond to the failure that is Joker 2. As you guys know, I like it more than most. I even put it in my top 10. But I understand a lot of people just did not like the movie. But she seems to be like a good sport about it. This is what she had to say. She said, people just sometimes don't like some things. It's that simple. And I think to be an artist, you have to be willing for people to sometimes not like it. You keep going even if something didn't connect in the way that you intended. I think this is so true, and I'm glad that she's able to take a loss so well. And I think she will be able to rebound because she is Lady Gaga. I'm sure she'll get something amazing, and we'll hear about it soon. Right now, she's focusing on releasing a new album. I don't know how that's going to do, but I'm rooting for her. I've always been a Lady Gaga fan, and I'm just glad that she's taking this loss so well because it was pretty embarrassing. You could just tell that they thought this was going to be another Oscar darling, just like the first one, and it was anything but. In fact, she got her first Razzie nomination, which is really embarrassing. So, yeah, I'm hoping that this movie doesn't hurt her career. I really think she'll be able to bounce back from this. Now, will Joaquin Phoenix be able to bounce back? I'm actually less sure, just because he keeps getting himself into trouble in other areas. Like with his flakiness and stuff like that. So I don't know, but I think Lady Gaga will come out of this mostly unscathed. But what do you guys think about this? Are there any people like me who like you kind of don't totally understand the hate for this movie that kind of liked it? Or are there any people that just like don't like her comments? What do you think? Your prototype says he wished he should have told Todd Phillips that. Yeah, I think maybe the actors could have done more to protect their characters. I think that's fair. Bye, Du Bois. Alexander says, I still think she needs to fire her agent and manager and get new people. Yeah, I don't think she's been choosing the best projects, which is crazy because I feel like on paper the projects she's been choosing seem like good choices. They just consistently don't seem to work out for her. Oh, you don't think Lady Gaga cares? I think she cared a bit. I think she really wants an Oscar. I think she did care. But anyway, that was it for today. Thank you all for coming to the show, and I appreciate you guys joining me on a Tuesday afternoon, or at least that's where it is here. Thank you all for being here. I'll see you guys next week, and we'll have a lot more to discuss then. Bye.